Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're diving into two revolutionary new fronts in the science of aging, a science that's shifting from just slowing things down to potentially turning back the clock.
For, well, all of human history, aging has felt like an inevitable decline, a one-way street. But what if it's not? Let's start with the fundamental question scientists are now tackling head-on. Can we actually change the direction of that street?
All right, so here's our roadmap for today. We'll look at two major frontiers. First, a defensive play involving a so-called death protein, and then a really bold offensive strategy that aims to reset our cells. After that, we'll see where they overlap, and finally get into just how close any of this is to actually happening in humans.
Okay, let's jump right into our first frontier, the defender. Think of this as a defensive strategy. It's all about protecting our cells from a newly discovered internal saboteur that seems to speed up aging from the inside.
Now, the protein at the heart of this story is called MLKL. For the longest time, we thought its job was pretty straightforward. It was part of the cell's demolition crew, triggering self-destruction to get rid of cells that were sick or damaged. A brutal but necessary job.
But here's where it gets really interesting. A recent study revealed something totally unexpected. It turns out, under the normal stresses of aging, MLKL has this secret side gig. It actively pushes our vital blood stem cells towards aging without actually killing them.
So how does it do this? Well, it's basically a four-step heist. First, stress activates MLKL, but instead of triggering the alarm for cell death, it quietly takes a trip to the cell's power plants, the mitochondria. There, it starts messing things up, essentially draining the cell's battery. And this power drain is what makes the cell function poorly and ultimately drives aging.
And the results of stopping it? Well, they were just profound. When scientists blocked this protein in mice, their blood stem cells stayed younger, they regenerated better, and they produced a much healthier immune system. And crucially, their mitochondria just worked better, making the cells way more resilient, even when they were stressed.
Right, so that was defense. Now let's talk about offense. This is our second frontier, the reset. And this strategy is, well, it's far more audacious. It's not about defending against damage. It's about actively trying to turn back the biological clock.
You don't have to take my word for it. This quote from Dr. David Sinclair, who's a pioneer in this area, just perfectly captures the buzz. The science is moving so fast, it's almost hard to keep up.
The core idea here is partial cellular reprogramming. The best way to think about it is like this. Your DNA is the hardware in your computer, and the epigenome is the software telling it what to do. As we age, that software gets buggy. Reprogramming is like rebooting the software, restoring the cell's original, youthful instructions without wiping its memory or changing what kind of cell it is.
Now, this distinction is absolutely crucial. Full reprogramming is like a factory reset. It turns an adult cell all the way back into a blank slate stem cell. What scientists are doing now is much more subtle. It's a partial reset. They use just some of the tools to make the cell younger, while making sure a skin cell, for example, stays a skin cell.
And just look at how fast this is all moving. It's incredible. From the initial discovery in 2006, it only took 14 years to restore vision in old mice. Then it worked in monkeys, and now, the first human trial has been given the green light for 2026. The next 10 years could be absolutely transformative.
So we have two very different playbooks, right? The defender and the reset. But here's the really fascinating part. This is where these two seemingly separate paths actually meet.
Let's just put them side by side. The defender is protective. It works by blocking one specific protein to stop it from damaging the mitochondria. The reset is this big, rejuvenating offensive move that reboots the cell's entire operating system. But look at the bottom line. What's the shared impact? Both of them end up improving the health of our mitochondria. And that right there is the critical link. Whether you're playing defense and protecting the cell's engines, or you're playing offense and giving them a full system reboot, it all comes back to the mitochondria. Their health seems to be absolutely central to the whole aging process.
This all sounds incredible, but the question you're probably asking is, how close are we to actually seeing any of this in a clinic? Let's take a look at where things stand.
So, the defender approach, the one that blocks MLKL, is still in the early days. The concept is proven in mice, and it looks really promising for protecting our stem cells and maybe even inspiring a whole new class of drugs that shield our mitochondria.
The reset approach, though, has just crossed a massive threshold. The FDA has given clearance for the first ever human trial of partial reprogramming. It's aiming to restore vision in people with age-related eye diseases, and it's a huge, huge moment for the entire field.
Of course, this immediately brings up the question of access. An early one-time gene therapy like this could, realistically, have a price tag of around $2 million. Incredibly effective, no doubt, but not for everyone.
But, and this is a huge but, that isn't the endgame. The real goal, using powerful tools like AI to scan for molecules, is to develop a pill that could do the same thing. And the potential cost for that? Around $100 a month. Now that is how this technology could truly change the world.
So the key takeaway here is this. We are right in the middle of a fundamental shift in medicine. We are moving away from treating the individual diseases of old age, and we're starting to target the aging process itself. And as we've seen, mitochondrial health is emerging as the central battlefield. And you know, the great thing about that discovery is that it highlights why things we can do today, like regular exercise or eating well, are so powerful. They directly support the health of our mitochondria.
And all of this leaves us with a final, really provocative thought. If aging becomes a treatable condition, it forces us to completely rethink one of the most fundamental parts of being human. As this science picks up speed, the question of what it means to grow old is no longer just for philosophers, it's a question for all of us.